Welcome, please, the first woman to be Prime Minister of Estonia, the European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be back. This gathering matters more than ever because democracy no longer is the global norm. 6 years ago, democracy was overtaken by autocracy for the first time in 20 years. Today, liberal democracy is the least common model in the world. 72% of people live in autocracies, the highest proportion since 1978. For some time, I have been reflecting on this topic. I want to share 4 key lessons with you today through the lens of my current job. Lesson number 1. Democracy is not an instant gratification. Bold choices build democracy up. I often think about democracy and autocracy as a relay race. The autocrat jumps the gun, getting ahead early while the Democrats are still deciding who does what, which foot we start, which tempo we take, how we go. But Democrats, when they eventually move forward, can hand over the baton to fresh legs. Every team member contributes their skills and expertise. They cheer each other on. As the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's democracy in a nutshell. Hard work that pays off. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and the Baltic countries built democracy from scratch, guided only by the memory of what the forebears had created. They rooted out corruption, built strong institutions, and established robust legal systems. This required a massive turnaround, also from the mindset of people. I was recently in the Western Balkans, where countries face many of the same challenges and choices the Baltics made in their reforms to join European Union. The EU membership is a pathway to consolidating democracy, and the rewards don't come overnight. Yet, democracy creates long-term prosperity, protects individual rights, guarantees freedom, and leads to peace. Lesson number 2. Democracies need hard defense. Treaties alone never guarantee peace. Georgia learned this in 2008. Ukraine learned this in 2014 with the annexation of Crimea, and now through 3 years of full-scale invasion of Russia. We have the answer to the question of how to stop Russia's historical cycle of aggression against democracies in our hands. Strength is the answer. Strength deters aggressors. Weakness invites them in. The strongest security guarantee is a strong Ukraine. Kiev cannot accept another Budapest memorandum. Words alone are never enough as a security guarantee. That is why the European Union and its member states are the biggest supporters of Ukraine's military, and why robust security guarantees must be part of any peace agreement of Ukraine. And why last Friday I also discussed with the European Union foreign ministers how to provide security guarantees. Because the war will end. And once it ends, it must end for good. To achieve that, we also need to increase pressure on Russia and strengthen Ukraine on the battlefield today. Russia has asked for sanctions relief. We know that the sanctions are working. They wouldn't be asking it otherwise. Last week, we proposed the 17th package of sanctions. we also set a 2027 deadline to sever energy ties with Russia. Europeans will deprive them of the means to hold us hostage over energy ever again. And we've just made available €1 billion for Ukraine's defense industry to support Ukrainian companies and secure additional military aid. Peace has never been free. The peace dividend is actually a myth. We must invest in defense during peacetime to protect peace, our values, our democracy. And this is why the European Union is pulling every financial lever to strengthen European defense. With the new Rearm Europe plan, we will be able to mobilize up to €800 billion. When the EU acts together, we have a huge amount of strength. It is time we transfer our economic might also to military power. Lesson number 3. Our adversaries are always ready to exploit the divisions in our democracies. Democracies run on disagreements. As George Orwell wrote, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. In democracy, we base our disagreements on facts, but we are right back in the age of untruth. Fact-checking has fallen out of fashion. We form opinions and debate based on data. Policymakers take decisions based on data. And fact-checkers provide data. Wherever there is a massive public communication, including social media, we need fact-checkers. Otherwise, we only leave the door wide open to exploitation. A second major problem is that foreign actors deliberately muddy the waters to exploit the divisions. It's a hybrid warfare tactic that often accompanies hot war. And this is Russia's playbook. But not only Russia, but China, Iran, as well as others, operate massive military campaigns specifically to manipulate information spaces in democracies worldwide. Last year alone, more than 90 countries were targets of attacks, from disinformation fueling farmers' protests in Germany to interference in presidential elections in Romania and Moldova. The evidence of foreign interference is there for all to see. The EU is fighting back by exposing these operations and sanctioning perpetrators, but we must all do more. And this morning, I met young people here who were part of the 2025 Alliance of Democracies Fellowship, and they are doing amazing things here. I really encourage you to meet them, like Open Minds, for example. They merge artificial and human intelligence to detect and help governments to fight interference. One of democracy's greatest privileges is participation in election and choosing who we want to govern us based on data. If we truly want to defend our democratic space, we must fight the foreign interference. Lesson number 4. It's never too late to protect democracies or rebuild it. The role of independent media for democracy cannot be overstated. Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, is a shining example. For countries under autocracies, it has long been the light in the dark. Another of the fellows I met this morning runs a company whose work helps to public check the accuracy what we read in the media. And this, media literacy, is equally important. One of my objectives for the next long-term European Union budget is to ensure that EU remains a reliable partner to protect free media and quality press globally. And this is especially important when Russia and China buy up media, including in Africa, only to control the narrative. If you pull funding for independent media, you only help those who want to destroy democracy. and one cannot exist without the other. It is also deeply troubling that some countries are now labeling individuals and organizations who receive foreign funding as acting on behalf of foreign interests. The result is simply shrinking civic space and therefore shrinking possibility for democracy to thrive. Despite rising autocracy, democratic openings still persist. Opposition leader in Zambia won presidential elections in 2021. Last year, Sri Lankans voted out an autocratic leader. Protests toppled the dictatorship in Bangladesh. The fall of the Assad regime in Syria offers Syrians to choose to rebuild a country where every voice counts. We must seize these openings. Before Moldova's elections, the EU worked with digital platforms, including TikTok, to combat disinformation and help Moldova enact legislation to regulate its digital space. And I want us to continue this work. Even from the ashes of war, democracy can rise again. And for this, accountability is the key. Last week in Lviv, we formally established a special tribunal for the crimes against aggression in Ukraine. Accountability is how societies collectively grieve and move forward after unimaginable horror. This was true after Nuremberg. It will be also true for Ukraine. While others withdraw from responsibilities to uphold international law, the European Union never will. So let me sum up here. We must fight for democracy. We cannot take it for granted. Democracy is never a given. It is always a choice. We have to choose it every day. We have to be active citizens in our democracies. Democracies have to defend themselves with hard power, because if we don't, there are always others who will exploit our weaknesses. We see the autocrats cutting course, disabling opponents, and removing them altogether. It is up to us, to democracies, to defend the space and keep the race fair. And opportunities for progress will always exist. Because the will for freedom, choice, and democracy is innate part of who we are as human beings. Now more than ever, democracies must believe in their strength, defend themselves with hard power, and hold on to the spirit of victory. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, High Representative, and welcome to Copenhagen. I wanted to start with a broad thought. Autocracy seems to be on the rise around the world. The results of the perception index are quite alarming. Is Europe really alone in defending this sort of liberal democratic model in the world at this stage?
I don't think we're alone. Actually, what I've seen is a lot of countries from around the world behind our doors wanting to cooperate and finding new ways to do that. And why is it so? Because, something that has been maybe our weakness, because we are so predictable and so boring, has become actually our strength, because there's a lot of unpredictability in the world. So we can build on that strength. Of course, we need to cooperate with the countries around the world who are not perfect democracies. If we only choose the countries that are perfect democracies. We can't also work with countries that are within European Union. But that's another topic. But it's clear that we need to find the ways to actually promote the values that we also stand for, because people clearly see that it brings benefits. It brings prosperity and the well-being of people.
Boring is good. We'll see if that's the next EU slogan.
Choose boring.
Choose boring. Well, that's even so. Some countries seem to be having a trouble making a choice between autocracy and democracy. You mentioned you were in the Western Balkans. Some of the leaders in that region decided to go to Moscow for the so-called victory parade. What would you say to them at this stage? Have they already made their choice in terms of which model to follow, or is the EU keeping its door open?
On the 9th of May, when Putin was having its parade, we were together with the foreign ministers of European Union, and not only European Union, but also Norway, UK, the Western Balkans. We were in Ukraine, and we visited a hospital in Lviv that is called Superhumans. So it is treating patients who have lost, one of their limbs, and it's one of those hospitals. There are 3 of a kind in Lviv, and then after that we went to the cemetery and in Lviv. So I was just seeing all this, human suffering, but a lot of broken bodies, but not broken souls. You can see, they clearly understand what they are fighting for, and you can break my body, but you can't break me. And I was like thinking about all those leaders who stand by the person whose decision it is to actually send the soldiers to die in Ukraine, to kill civilians, to kill other soldiers, bring about all this suffering. How can you really? I don't understand. How can you? Say to yourself that this is the right thing to do. I want to be in the picture with that guy. So what I want to say to them, and I've already said, go to Ukraine, go and see yourself. You don't have the courage to go there. See yourself and then look into the mirror and ask yourself if you are on the right side of history.
Mm-hmm. Would you say they have set themselves back on the path to EU membership by doing something like that?
Well, it is clearly a big issue. I can tell you that one of those countries wanted to send the military to march there. It's like, can you imagine that, this is the biggest threat that we have to Europe, Russia. And you want to join European Union, and then you send your military to march together with the forces that are actually attacking European security. How can you then really defend this and say that, we want to take this military, enemy within? It will be a complete no-go for many European countries. And it is hard. Show me who are your friends and I will tell you who you are. it is, we have 27 member states in Europe, and I can already tell, 10 for whom this is highly problematic.
Right. Understand. You're doing a lot of traveling as befits your job. You just come here from London, where you're with a group of EU foreign leaders. You urge Putin to respect the 30-day ceasefire. The question is, what's next from the European side? He doesn't seem to. There were more drone attacks this morning. What do you see as the next steps to keep up pressure?
Yeah. It is clear that in order to have peace, you need at least 2-to-1 peace. It only takes 1-to-1 war. And we see Putin has shown very clearly that he still wants war. And I think it's extremely important because they wanted also in the global South to make them believe the narrative that Europeans or Ukrainians are these warmongers. They want war, but Putin is a peaceful person, just attacking and killing some civilians. They really bought this narrative, but now everybody can see that this is not the case. I mean, it has been 60 days since Ukraine agreed to full and unconditional ceasefire, whereas we haven't seen that from Russia's side. We have seen that Russia is playing games. So now, of course, we have been united saying that, okay, a ceasefire so that they can sit down behind the table and discuss peace. But we need to see some goodwill on the Russian side. So what we can do is, of course, to put more pressure on Russia to also want peace on their side. And the tools that we have in our hands are economical, so sanctions. And I also welcome the Lindsey Graham package that they are now discussing in Senate, which is very strong sanctions to really put the pressure on Russia. So I think this is sending a very good signal that also the Americans understand that in order to end this war, in order to end this killing, you should put the pressure on the one who is doing the killing.
Right, right. And the United States has really been so far leading these kind of bilateral talks with Russia and Ukraine. Do you think, how has Putin behaved in those talks? Is he being a trustworthy partner for Donald Trump? And what would you say to Donald Trump?
But there hasn't been any bilateral talks with Ukraine and Russia. There has been shuttle diplomacy, really, and not with, there has been envoys from United States going there. But I think it is important to keep in mind that nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, really. I mean, if we see them agreeing to things and coming back to ideas that are completely unacceptable for Ukraine or for Europe, for that matter, then it can't really fly. But I think I understand what the Americans are trying to do is to really keep the door open so that, Russia would come to the table. And that's why they haven't maybe put that much pressure on Russia. But now it has been over 60 days. And we need to see then some other steps so that you would see Putin around that negotiation table.
Right, and on Thursday, what do you expect? Zelensky just confirmed this morning that he will go to Ankara. Do you expect to see other leaders around that table? Do you think?
Well, it's a big question. I think Zelensky did well to say that, okay, I'm willing to meet Putin and let him come. I don't know if we are off the camera or on the camera here, but if I can share my opinion, I don't know.
No, please do.
It always gets me in trouble if I do that.
That's definitely on.
So it's hard. It's hard. But I think it's a good move if they sit down. I think it should be between then Zelensky and Putin, but I don't think he dares Putin, I guess.
All right. We talked about raising the pressure on Russia. You mentioned a 17th package of sanctions. But there are obstacles. There are countries in Europe that are standing in the way of that sanctions policy. What do you think, does Europe have to take steps to safeguard its sanctions policy, its security policy, to make sure that one country can't derail the whole thing? Yeah, and how would that work? Mm-hmm.
Yes. First, we are working on the 17th package, and so far, let's hope tomorrow is one day when we will see whether we have an agreement or not. But I'm positive that we are moving with this, and then of course preparing other packages as well. Now, coming to your question, then
Tomorrow. So you think there might agreement on sanctions?
I mean, no, tomorrow is the big meeting of ambassadors, so we get the feeling what kind of fights we are up to. So, so far, I don't know what I have to do. But in general terms, of course, it is a big problem. And that's why we are intensively doing the thinking how to overcome that problem. And I can tell you, we have prepared some different possibilities to overcome that. But the first aim is to have the agreement by everybody, and I hope we will get there. Right now, I'm optimistic.
I'm gonna take we have questions from our audience coming in here. Here's one that I like. Will the EU be willing to move ahead with confiscating assets worth 300 million? I think that's an underestimate. It's more like 300 billion, and making them available for the reconstruction of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, I mean, my position is very clear. Personal, opinion on this is that it is not fair that our taxpayers need to pay for something that we haven't destroyed. It's Russia that is doing the destroying. And as a lawyer, I can find a way out of this problem. We have the assets, so Russia has a legitimate claim towards us. Ukraine has a legitimate claim towards Russia to compensate for the damages that they have caused. So we can find a solution there, say that, we are settling from this pot that we have for the reconstruction, and then if there's anything left over, I mean, we can give it back. But we don't have the decision by everybody, because, as you know, these assets are not evenly distributed across member states. So some, to say one particularly, is bearing the most burden. So what is my approach now? Of course, these things entail risks, but I think it's important that we really think about mitigation of those risks, because we need to have an exit strategy as well. We can't possibly imagine that, Russia hasn't paid the damages to Ukraine, and then we will simply give back what we actually have in our hands and start to claim it from Russia. I mean, it is, in Estonian we have a saying that better a small bird in the hand than the big bird on the roof. So we have the small bird. Let's not give the small bird away when we can actually use that. But we are working on that to bring everybody on board to go forward with the proposal.
Yeah. I want to take you to the Middle East for a second, because you're not just focused on Russia and the European neighborhood. You're spending a lot of time over there. The other day, you got a letter from the Dutch foreign minister sounding the alarm about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and he asked to review the EU-Israel Association Agreement. I wonder, have you prepared a response? Have you thought about how you might want to respond to him?
No, I mean, this is a big problem. And of course, before that letter, I had also, expressed and talked to the minister of Israel and proposed, different things. Because, the problem is the humanitarian aid. When they are saying that, it's weaponized by Hamas and only given to people that are close to Hamas, it's like, but then the response would be, float Gaza with humanitarian aid so that there would be no deficit, and it can't be used. Also, like you say, it can. So we are also offering, our help. We have the EU-BAM Rafah border crossing mission. I mean, we are also ready to increase this to help with the distribution of humanitarian aid, but we are not allowed to. So, for me, it is immense frustration that we can't really do anything. So, I mean, of course, discussion about this agreement we will have. I know what it's going to be the end result, because I know the positions of the member states. And even if we would, suspend this agreement, it wouldn't stop the killing. And that is the problem. Really, what I'm where the frustration comes, because we all see this is untenable, the loss of life, the human suffering, and we really need to help them. We are together, I mean, with the Arab countries discussing what can we do, but again, we need our American friends on board to understand that this situation is completely untenable.
Well, we heard you there. Flood the Gaza with aid. Your call to Israel. Thank you so much, High Representative. Thank you for this interview. I will be.